So, so the largest country is Germany, evidently. So Germany's relationship with other member countries and with the smaller countries of the EU. It was mentioned here not once in 1951. In the European Coal and Steel Community was created, and the great Chancellor Adenauer termed its political significance infinitely greater than its economic significance, and similar the French Foreign Minister Schuman, and we all remember this. But we need to remember also, and we forget, that one of the leaders of the SPD at the time, Carl Schmitt, referred to the Schuman Plan myth as a cover for French designs on German industry, and even was comparing European Coal and Steel Community to the 1990 Treaty of Versailles. So it was a process also in Germany, as successful in this respect. In the 50s, in the late 50s, basically all major German parties moved towards recognition of European integration. FPD was still questioning, quite opposed to EEC in 56, but by early 60s, and from then on, we have a pro-European consensus in a large three German political parties. Very important, especially seen from the eastern countries. Of course, there are temptations in life. Temptation emerged after the Soviets moved away from Eastern Europe. There was opportunity for Germany to re-establish itself as a real hegemon in the region, and to pursue more clear national interests. And even in the early 1990s, for some short period, we felt it's happening when there was a unilateral stance of Germany on accepting Croatia and Slovenia. But this later proved exceptional. It proves exceptional. Yeah? So, importantly, to summarize what I want to say, the European integration rests on a new concept how Germans and other big European nations, French, Italians, about whom I know less, and British, see themselves. So it's a new concept of their national identity. It's more and more rooted in some shared values, which we call European shared values without precise definitions, in which German nationals and the elite sees the German state more and more as not an autonomous international actor, but as a part of a bigger thing, a part of emerging political union, a part of existent economic union. So, when preparing for this, I said, let's look what historians write about this. These are wise people, which we typically don't quote, even there is now literature about relation, history, economics emerging. So, for example, the great historian Jacques-Le Goff writes that writing a truly European history is still not possible. As most of the existing literature on Europe is based on an idea of the nation state as held in the 19th century. Of course, the historians are not as nationalistic as they used to be, as Blockmann's 2006 European Review writes about, but the implicit assumptions, the terminology, the language constraint, the frame of reference still relates very, very much to the national background. If advice for other countries, the threat, as I understand, and I'm not an expert by any means on the Asia, but I found in the literature, was a conference about this on Waseda University 2008, 2009, that in Asian integration, these threats, the possible threat of the bigger countries, suspicion among countries, among large countries, is still existent. And why in Europe this you find mostly in small countries and not anymore among the large countries. So this is this was one group of comments. Second one is about this euro integration and whether it leads us, as a lot of people expected, to a closer political integration, political unification of Europe. So when Hungary in 2008 has the paper where is Europe sui generis, this European integration efforts, he said, don't look on imperfect analogies with the European Monetary Union. This is the gold standard, the Latin and Scandinavian Union of the 19th century, the 20th century monetary unions. What is a relevant analogy for European Monetary Union, Hungary says, are the national monetary unions of US, of Germany, of Italy. These are true monetary unions with a single currency regulated by a single bank. However, these national cases lack distinguishing feature of the European Monetary Union, which is the absence of political union. So, what happened in the last 10 years, and what happened with the views? So there were basically 4 or 5 groups of arguments which would say how it would be needed for monetary union, for a continuous existence of the monetary union to lead to introduction of the stronger political union. First type of argument we know it comes from the optimal currency area literature, the Mundell, Mackinnon, Kennan type of thinking, which says you have a low factor mobility, comparatively sluggish some product markets, labor markets, you have little choice but to create some supranational institution, budgetary institution to adjust to asymmetries. And there are different ways how you measure these asymmetric shocks. Second type of arguments was, I'm
sorry, but I have to tell you that 2 more minutes?
Yeah, I'm done, yeah. A supranational budgetary instruments will be required to compensate the losers. That's like the Grove argument and others. Then there are arguments of the legitimacy of political scientists. They would say, well, to have a euro is too much dependent only on economic benefits. So there is a legitimacy problem. There was a famous point raised by Karl Otto Pohl, who was arguing also, the former head of the Central Bank of Germany, that although, quote, although complete political union is not absolutely necessary for the establishment of a monetary union, the loss of a national sovereignty and economic and monetary policy associated with it is so serious that it would probably be bearable only in the context of extremely close political integration. Yeah? And then the arguments of politicians who want political unification, as was quoted here, the Belgian Prime Minister, who were seeing monetary integration as a step towards political integration. So finally, to close, so what do we observe after having 10 years of the euro? We don't observe problem with legitimacy. The euro, so the arguments of the political scientists, the Eurobarometer suggests that overall support for euro remains strong and stable among general public, even there are cross-country variations. Yeah. What we observe is that efforts to strengthen economic policy coordination in the EU do not necessarily lead to further centralization of economic policy. And also, as my last sentence, euro area members, while they have intensified the coordination of macroeconomic policies over the last 10 years of the existence of euro, this has not, as some predicted, created noticeable pressure, which we would feel now, that further centralization of economic decision-making in the EU is needed. So it seems that even without political union, the European monetary integration will survive for a long time ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Julius. I think you guys deserve coffee, but you're not going to have one. It has to wait a little longer. The young lady wants to make a quick advertisement, and then I can see already we started 15 minutes later. So is it 15 minutes or, Jerry, what should we do? You need to tell me. Oh, okay, you don't. George, can you observe the neither? How much? 15, 20, half an hour? 15, okay. Well, while she's making the announcement, please, okay, go ahead and make your announcement first.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.